The consort was playful, always provoking the heir apparent. To punish her, the heir apparent deliberately used me to make her jealous. I was just an orphan girl selling tofu to make a living, suddenly dragged into the prince's residence, made a tool for the games of the heir and his wife. As expected, soon after, the consort really did get jealous, and the two made up. The consort hated me, and sold me to a brothel. She cursed, "Someone as low as you, how dare you touch what's mine? You deserve to rot in this place." They broke my limbs, tied me to a bed. I lived a fate worse than death, tortured until I died. When I opened my eyes, I was back on the day the heir apparent sent his people to drag me into the prince's residence. Outside my shop was the carriage of the prince's household. I stood frozen, my body and limbs still haunted by pain from my previous life. At last, I realized. I had been reborn. Even the heavens couldn't bear it anymore, so they gave me a chance to start over. Thinking of all the resentment from my last life, I couldn't help but burn with anger. All of this, just because the heir apparent of the prince's household once saw me and noticed I looked a bit like his wife. The heir apparent and his consort were childhood sweethearts, deeply attached. After marriage, they were a perfect couple, devoted and well-matched. But the consort loved pleasure, while the heir apparent was hard and domineering. Wanting to provoke her, he thought of me. He treated me as a pawn, a stand-in, using me to make Tang Jin's jealous. I became nothing but a tool in their twisted game of affection. And when they finally made up, not only did they refuse to let me go, they threw me into an abyss. The consort, wild and arrogant, tore off my clothes and tied me up, selling me to a brothel for a single coin. I was never a servant, so what right did she have to sell me? The consort ordered people to ruin my face, then personally dragged me to the brothel, raging. "Someone so lowly as you, how dare you touch what's mine? You should rot in this filthy place." She listened to my screams, watched the rough men approach, then stood outside, covering her mouth with a handkerchief, secretly laughing. "Only like this will you remember your place. Only then will you understand, you're just dirt. How dare you have a face like mine?" She flung her sleeve and left in disgust, not forgetting to order the brothel madam. "Don't let her escape. Even if she dies, let her bones rot here." Even the brothel madam felt sorry for me. When the consort left, she sent away the first group of men, looked at my bloody body and sighed. "I heard you're an orphan. The consort is too powerful. You can't fight her, and no one will help you. This time, you've really angered her. That's how this world is, blame your luck. Whether you're high or low, fate is the hardest thing to change. Girl, you'll just have to accept your fate. Maybe next life, you'll be born somewhere better. There's nothing else I can do. I'll just let you go quickly." As she said, I was soon tortured to death. But what did I ever do wrong? From start to finish, I never once provoked those two. If I could choose, I would never want to have a face like Tang Jin's. Just then, the prince's housekeeper hurried me. "Girl, what are you waiting for? The heir apparent wants to see you at the residence." She said invite, but it was really a threat. In my past life, I refused over and over, but was still dragged into the carriage. Even if some people felt pity, as commoners, who would dare defy the prince's household. In this world, there was no one who would stand up for me. The housekeeper pulled my hand, but I suddenly spoke, "I'll go myself." This time, I would not resist. I wouldn't cling to pride. Didn't the heir apparent and Tang Jin's love their games? Then, let the game begin. "Nanny, I just finished selling tofu this morning. I'm sweaty and want to change before meeting your young master, so I won't be rude." She grumbled but agreed. I deliberately chose an old dress from 2 years ago, a little tight, accentuating my curves. In my previous life, when Tang Jin stripped me and dragged me away, I once begged for help from Xiao Yusin. He looked at me, and I caught a fleeting obsession in his eyes. That look made Tang Jin order people to slap me until blood gushed from my mouth, my cheek swollen and nearly disfigured. Now that I think about it, was Xiao Yusin truly devoted to Tang Jin? After years selling tofu in the West City, I heard all kinds of sordid stories. Never once did I see a man truly loyal to one woman for life. Xiao Xian, the girl who sold embroidery nearby, once cried to me, "My husband always said that meeting me was the best thing that ever happened to him. But even so, he still visited the brothel." Xiao Xian said, "Men only care about what's between their legs. They say one thing and do another, their bodies always betraying them." I looked 5 parts like Tang Jin's, and my figure was even softer, more graceful. Normally, I wore loose clothing to hide it. But, loving myself and holding on to pride could never save my life. So why shouldn't I use everything I can? I had no right to resist. Xiao Yusen would force me into the prince's residence no matter what. Tang Jin's would never let me go. I had no way out. Besides, the debts of my past life, I must repay. Entering the prince's residence was the only path left for me. I stepped out, locked the door, and quietly climbed into the carriage. The housekeeper looked at me several times, snorting in contempt. Little fox spirit. But instead of getting angry, I smiled. Perfect. Beauty is the only weapon I have. As the carriage rolled on, I lowered my head, glanced at my exposed chest and slim waist, then took out a small bronze mirror for a final check. Xiao Yusen wants me as a stand-in. If I am a stand-in, that means I have the chance to become the real thing. When I arrived at the prince's residence, I was taken into the study. Xiao Yusen was in a fury. "Are all of you useless? Even Tang Jin's, you let her slip away. Find her, now. Bring her back to me immediately." The men bowed their heads at once. "Yes, young master." Xiao Yusen mobilized all the elite guards of the household, just to search for a runaway consort. For people like them, a single whim could push someone else straight into hell. They acted as if they ruled the world, while people like me were nothing, grass beneath their feet, to be trampled at will. The housekeeper said, "Young master, she's here." Xiao Yusen turned around. I met his eyes, no longer showing fear and resistance as in my past life. This time, I pretended to secretly admire him. Sure enough, men always loved beauty. Xiao Yusen's gaze lingered on my face for a moment, then swept downward, slowly tracing every curve. I bit my lip, feigning shyness. "And then, greets young master." Xiao Yusen paused, picked up a cup of cold tea from the table, and drained it. The next moment, he pretended to be casual and said, "From today, you'll stay here at the residence for now. I won't treat you badly." "Humph, not badly. In my past life, after they made up, they tossed me aside like garbage." I smiled. "I just have one question, why did young master summon me to the residence?" Xiao Yusen looked impatient, clearly troubled by something. He took another sip of cold tea, as if trying to douse the mess of emotions inside. Was he angry because he hadn't found Tang Jin's yet, or was there something else? In my past life, I stubbornly refused to enter the residence, and even when I was forced inside, I resisted every step, making him despise me more and more. Later, he finally told me the truth. If I helped him make Tang Jin's jealous, he would let me go. Last life, I was forced to agree. But in this life, I would volunteer. Only then could I change his view of me. Now, Xiao Yusen motioned for the housekeeper to leave. Once we were alone in the study, I gazed at him with the infatuation of a woman in love, filling the room with an ambiguous tension. Even Xiao Yusen didn't realize how much softer his tone had become. "I need you to play a part with me." He briefly explained his conflict with Tang Jin's. I pretended to be surprised. "Young master is so good to her, why can't Tang Jin see your worth? But please don't worry, I'll do everything I can to help you win her heart." Hearing this, Xiao Yusen frowned, a flicker of suspicion in his eyes. I knew, his heart had started to waver. My words were harmless, but I had subtly planted doubt about Tang Jin's feelings for him. Meanwhile, another kind of suspicion rose in Xiao Yusen. He stared at me. "Your name isn't in, could it be we've met before?" Had he forgotten? A month ago, he'd stopped by the market, pausing in front of my stall. But a year ago, you went to put down a rebellion outside the city. That day, I happened to be sweeping my ancestor's grave nearby. If you hadn't intervened, I would have died at the hands of those rebels. You truly saved my life. My gratitude and admiration for you, heaven and earth can attest. Xiao Yusen seemed to recall something. He had really participated in quelling that rebellion. But whether I'd been there or he'd ever saved me didn't matter. All I needed was for him to believe that I was truly infatuated with him. Every man has his hero complex. The best lies are those in which every sentence could be true, but put together form a story that's entirely fabricated. As expected, Xiao Yusen's expression softened. I was just following orders. Saving you was my duty. I pressed on. But I've always remembered your kindness. I've just been waiting for the chance to repay you. Now, at last, my chance has come. No man could easily refuse a beautiful woman who idolized him. Besides, Xiao Yusen needed me right now. I reached out, lightly placing my hand on his elbow, my voice sincere. Young master, I'll give this performance everything I've got. I believe Tang Jin's will soon realize you're the best man in the world, and she'll return to you. In Xiao Yusen's deep eyes, my reflection appeared, along with the alluring curves I had purposely displayed. I quickly made a suggestion. Young master, why not spread the word that you're interested in a common girl? If Tang Jin hears it, she'll definitely come back right away. And tonight, let me stay in your chambers, as if we have already become a couple. Xiao Yusen's face darkened, and he unconsciously scratched the bridge of his nose. Wouldn't that ruin your reputation? He was worried about my reputation. How ridiculous. The moment he sent people into my alley and dragged me off like a criminal, I lost all my good name. In my last life, when I tried to leave, Xiao Yusen shouted. Even if you walk out now, no one will believe you're innocent. You'd better behave and do as I say. But this time, playing the devoted lover, following his every wish, his attitude was completely different. Suppressing my disgust, I smiled sweetly. As long as you're at ease, my reputation doesn't matter at all. Xiao Yusen laughed, obviously satisfied. Men, most of them were arrogant and shameless. He truly believed I was willing to give up everything for him, even my chastity. His guard was dropping, his words growing softer. Confiding is always the first step to a change of heart. I quietly waited for Xiao Yusen to fall, one step at a time, into the trap I had prepared. At dusk, I went to the kitchen and personally made a few of my best dishes. Logically, since this was my first day in the household, Xiao Yusen should have checked the food for poison, but he didn't. Just a few simple dishes, sweet and sour ribs, steamed base, 3 stir-fried vegetable dishes, and a bowl of pigeon soup. Xiao Yusen ate 2 whole bowls of rice. After he was full and in a good mood, a guard rushed in with news that instantly soured the atmosphere. Young master, Tang Jin says if you take a concubine, she'll spend the night at a tavern. Hearing this, Xiao Yusen slammed the table and stood, his face dark with anger. She dares. Unbelievable. She's only this bold because she knows I truly care for her. The guards didn't dare breathe. I quickly tried to calm him. If Tang Jin sent someone with a message, it means she's starting to care. Otherwise, why threaten you at all? Xiao Yusen seemed to understand, but was still furious. Humph. She's always been this willful. He ordered the guards to keep watching Tang Jin's. Night fell quickly. I lowered my head, feigning shyness, but my eyes never left Xiao Yusen. Young master, tonight the consort will definitely return. You and I must act well. Xiao Yusen didn't refuse. His expression softened. If Tang Jin were as sensible as you, I wouldn't be suffering like this. I smiled modestly. Tang Jin really doesn't know how to appreciate happiness. But I believe she'll soon understand your pain. A man as outstanding as you, there are few in the capital who could compare. Xiao Yusen couldn't help but straighten his back, the corners of his lips tinged with satisfaction. He had truly accepted his own excellence. Inside, I felt nothing but secret contempt. As night fell, I bathed and changed in the guest room, purposefully bathing in flower petals so my hair and skin carried a faint floral scent. My summer robe was thin and light, the collar slightly open to reveal a pale pink undergarment. When I arrived at Xiao Yusen's bedroom, he had already finished bathing. Under the bright lamplight, his eyes fell on me and darkened. I stepped closer and bowed to him. I knew perfectly well that from his angle, he could see the snowy curves of my body, half hidden, half revealed, making me even more alluring. The difference between me and Tang Jin's, perhaps, was our backgrounds, figures, and temperaments. My family background couldn't compare. But in terms of body and personality, I was confident I had the upper hand. Suppressing my disgust, I looked up shyly. "Young master, may we rest now? The consort must be coming back soon. She wouldn't really go spend the night in a tavern, would she? You and I must act as convincingly as possible." Xiao Yusen responded a beat too late. Amen. We both lay down side by side. It was the middle of summer. Even with blocks of ice in the room, it was still stifling hot. Both our clothes were thin. The room was filled with the gentle fragrance of roses from my skin. At first, we simply lay there, unmoving. But I could hear Xiao Yusen's heartbeat growing erratic. I wanted to see just how long his so-called deep feelings for Tang Jin's could last. Suddenly, noise sounded outside, breaking the tension in the room. I trembled as if startled, then, as if by instinct, rolled over and pressed down on Xiao Yusen, letting out a cry. Young master." Xiao Yusen's whole body went rigid. I lowered my head, intentionally leaning close to his ear. "Young master, I didn't mean to. The consort has returned. Shall we start?" "But I don't know how." Outside, Tang Jin's angry voice rang out. "Move. Who dares block my way? Get out of my sight." The moment she spoke, Xiao Yusen, who was beneath me, immediately flipped over and pressed me down. I wore an expression of 3 parts panic, 3 parts embarrassment, and 4 parts confusion, not knowing what to do. His body was hot against mine, and his eyes fixed on me, his Adam's apple moving up and down. Just then, as he pulled me closer, my robe slipped off my shoulder, revealing my snowy skin. Xiao Yusen's gaze froze. He stared, unblinking. That's when the bedroom door was suddenly kicked open. Xiao Yusen instinctively lowered his head, his movements hasty and heated, as if he'd been completely swept up in the act just now. Because of the heat, the bed curtains hadn't been drawn. So when Tang Jin's burst in, she saw it all. Xiao Yusen's face was buried in my neck. I looked straight at Tang Jin's, my eyes full of challenge, even playfulness, pretending to enjoy myself. She grew even angrier, shouting, "Where did this fox come from? Get out!" But Xiao Yusen was still lost in the act, his actions unceasing. I clung to him tightly. Where he couldn't see, I stared at Tang Jin's with provocative defiance, a silent declaration of war. "I'll kill you. I'll send you to the army camp. You wretched thing." Tang Jin stormed up the steps. Only then did Xiao Yusen slowly look up. Desire was still written across his face. In that instant, I feigned fright and buried myself in his arms. Pressed close together before Tang Jin's, I deliberately let my soft curves show, then trembled in Xiao Yusen's embrace and spoke softly. "Consort, it's all my fault. This has nothing to do with young master. If you must blame someone, blame me. I took all the blame myself." Now, Xiao Yusen looked like a coward, unwilling to take responsibility. Of course, he couldn't let a woman bear it for him. He immediately retorted, turning to Tang Jin's. "It's not her fault. You spend all day flaunting yourself, running around, meeting strange men. Why shouldn't I have a little secret fun too?" Tang Jin's was livid, her exquisitely painted face twisted with rage. She raised her hand to slap me. I deliberately took the blow, crying out and shrinking further into Xiao Yusen. Xiao Yusen lost his temper too. "Tang Jin's. That's enough. Tang Jin's lunged to grab me. She caught my arm and twisted, as if to break it. My pale skin. Tang Jin's tried to hit me again, but this time Xiao Yusen seized her wrist. I'll send her away right now. Isn't that enough for you? Do you even realize how much you reek of alcohol? What kind of married woman lives like this? Tang Jin's had just come back from drinking with her old friends. Her personality was frank and a little wild, that was what drew Xiao Yusen to her in the first place. But after marriage, he couldn't stand her unruliness. This time, Tang Jin's really was at fault. She finally fell silent. She pointed at me. Take this fox away. Send her to the brothel. I want her ruined, her reputation destroyed. I shrank back, eyes brimming with tears as I looked at Xiao Yusen. He frowned tightly, as if he was losing patience. He pulled Tang Jin into his arms. We'll see how you behave. If you act like a proper consort, give me children, I'll send her away. But if you keep making trouble, I'll take her as a concubine. As he said this, Xiao Yusen didn't forget to glance at me several times. Tang Jin, her weakness exposed, finally stopped shouting. The maids led me back to the guest room. That night, I stared at my reflection in the mirror, my eyes lingering on the blotchy red marks on my shoulder, looking again and again. If Xiao Yusen wasn't born a dog, then at least in that moment, he'd already betrayed Tang Jin in his heart. That night, Xiao Yusen and Tang Jin didn't reconcile as husband and wife should have. On that bed, the scent of flowers I left behind lingered. How could Tang Jin possibly stand it? As for Xiao Yusen's feelings for me, perhaps he wasn't completely indifferent after all. One person held on to resentment, the other's mind drifted elsewhere. Of course, they couldn't easily make peace. The next morning, I brought breakfast to Xiao Yusen. He'd tasted my cooking last night and clearly enjoyed it. I styled my hair in a cloud-like bun, exposing my slender white neck. I pretended not to notice Xiao Yusen's gaze, simply asking gently, "Young master, last night, did the consort have a change of heart?" I wasn't sure if my acting was convincing. Xiao Yusen paused, as if replaying last night's events. His eyes drifted over my collar, anything but proper. The words change of heart I used were especially clever, as if hinting Tang Jin's affections were already with another man. Xiao Yusen sneered, you have no idea how fierce she is. This morning she ran back to her father's mansion. Still making trouble for me. I feigned regret, sighing softly. Luckily, at least she came home for a while last night. We can't let her keep drinking and fooling around outside forever. A woman wandering about all day, it's dangerous. If anything happened, it'd be a blow to your reputation, too. I made it sound as if everything I did was for Xiao Yusen's sake. His gaze grew even softer. I'll have to trouble you to stay at the residence a while longer. You may have to put up with more grievances in the future. I pressed my lips together, smiling secretly. Young master, as long as I can see you every day, no matter how much I have to endure, I don't mind at all. Xiao Yusen drank the soup I'd made, the pride in his eyes barely concealed. Look, here's a woman who disregards her own reputation for him, who always thinks of him first. Of course he was pleased, forgetting all about his image. The prouder he grew, the less he could stand Tang Jin's wild ways. That day, Xiao Yusen sent a whole chest of rewards to the guest courtyard. Aside from preparing his meals, I never tried to seduce him, always behaving respectfully, never stepping out of line. It was as if I truly admired him, never once showing the scheming of a fox spirit. Tang Jin didn't return to the residence for 3 days straight. Not until midday on the 4th day did a guard finally bring news. At the time, Xiao Yusen was eating the lunch I'd prepared. The guard stammered, "Young master, the consort, she. Xiao Yusen was in good spirits. He frowned, his voice low, "Speak. What trouble has she caused this time?" The guard quickly answered, not daring to hide a thing, "The consort is drinking with her old friends again. She's at Wanxian Tavern now." Xiao Yusen slammed the table, veins bulging on the back of his hand. Even I found Tang Jin's behavior a bit absurd. A woman with so many brothers, while not entirely improper, it was hardly ideal to drink and party with them so often. In my past life, I'd heard that all Tang Jint's brothers were married men. Xiao Yusen lost all appetite, his rage barely contained. He looked ready to rush out and kill someone. I took the chance to tug his sleeve, speaking softly. "Don't be angry, young master. Don't let this drive a wedge between you and the consort." Xiao Yusen looked at me, an idea flashing in his eyes. He grabbed my hand. "Come with me." Did he really need to hold my hand, though? I smoothly pulled away, pretending to be proper. "Young master, let's wait until we get to Wanxian Tavern before we begin our act." He glanced at the hand he'd just been holding, a fleeting trace of disappointment in his eyes. But he only murmured, "Fine." On the way to Wanxian Tavern, Xiao Yusen kept his eyes closed, pretending to rest. But I knew he wasn't sleeping. I deliberately gazed at him with tender affection, watching him closely, just like a lovesick maiden. The moment he suddenly opened his eyes, I pretended to panic and quickly turned away. My secret infatuation was both earnest and timid. By rights, Xiao Yusen should have been furious. After all, his wife was drinking and partying with other men. But now, he only gave a faint smile. He didn't expose me, but his expression couldn't quite hide his mood. When we arrived at Wanxian Tavern, Xiao Yusen naturally took my hand. As we climbed the stairs, we heard Tang Jint's voice. "Brothers, cheers." "Stop dawdling, what's the matter? You get married and suddenly you're scared to drink. Don't tell me your wives won't let you. Remember when I disguised myself as a man to sneak into the army camp? Back then, everyone was so bold. Getting married is nothing but trouble. No freedom at all." Tang Jint's was brimming with resentment. She never mentioned Xiao Yusen, but every word showed her discontent with the marriage. One of the young men tried to reason with her. "Jint's, you should be content. The young master truly cares for you. You two make a good match. We're happy for you." But Tang Jint's, already tipsy, spoke carelessly and loudly. "Humph. None of you men are any good. Once you have a woman, you never cherish her. If he hadn't begged me back then, I'd never have married so early. What's so great about marriage? I'd rather be brothers than husband and wife. Your wives aren't all that innocent either. Always pretending to be so proper, acting like green tea girls. I'm more like pu'er tea. They might fool you, but they can't fool me." She draped her arms around the men at the table, acting utterly unrestrained. Standing outside the private room door, Xiao Yusen and I saw the whole scene through the gap. I tightened my grip on his hand, my face full of concern, deliberately asking. "Young master, why is the consort so different? Why does she say such things? You mustn't take it to heart. Green tea, pu'er tea, whatever. I didn't need to understand. All I needed was for Xiao Yusen to be angry. That was enough. I knew those young men were all sons of prominent families, and their wives were proper, well-bred ladies. But in Tang Jint's mouth, they were no better than hypocrites." At that moment, Xiao Yusen's other hand forcefully shoved the door open. Everyone at the table turned to look, instantly falling silent. Tang Jint's and Xiao Yusen locked eyes, each gaze carrying a different meaning. Meanwhile, the other young men at the table glanced over, sizing me up. My appearance that day was carefully calculated, obedient at first glance, but every detail revealed hidden cunning. Xiao Yusen put his arm around me, lips curled in a mocking smile. "What a coincidence, running into you here." Someone began to tease. "Young master, and this is..." Xiao Yusen was angry. He couldn't do anything to Tang Jint's in public, but he knew just how to make her uncomfortable. He replied. "And then, my soon-to-be concubine." Tears instantly filled Tang Jint's eyes. But she was stubborn and refused to let them fall. Too proud, too arrogant. She'd always believed that every man in the world should revolve around her, Xiao Yusen, and even those married young men at the table. Xiao Yusen openly acknowledging me in front of everyone was like a slap straight across Tang Jint's face. My hand trembled as if frightened, but inside I was laughing coldly. In my last life, I was nothing more than a lowly insect, trampled by these self-absorbed fools. I looked up at Xiao Yusin. Young master. He glanced over, quietly reassuring me not to be afraid. I pressed my lips together, lowered my gaze, obedient as a fledgling tucked against its protector. Tang Jin shot to her feet, glaring at Xiao Yusin, then, without a word, turned and fled from the private room. That day she was dressed as a man, without any maids, only 2 guards, who hurried after her. At the same moment, Wei Ling, eldest son of the imperial censor, also stood up to follow. But Xiao Yusin immediately pressed a hand to his shoulder. Wei, you're a married man. You do well to stay away from my wife. His tone was heavy with warning. Wei Ling sneered. Young master, you're so petty. Gents and I are just good friends. It's not what you think. Tension crackled in the air. Xiao Yusin returned the cold smile. Wei, you shouldn't call my wife by her nickname. Wei Ling didn't back down, his gaze swept over me, then mocked Xiao Yusin. So, this is your taste. This little concubine does look a bit like gents. At that, several other young men quickly stepped in, afraid things would get out of hand. Young master, don't blame the consort. We all trained together in the army, we've been close for years. That's right, young master, don't let this hurt your marriage. But, you shouldn't be showing off a concubine in public like this. Now it was my turn to be criticized. I clung to Xiao Yusin's arm, as if seeking protection. So it was that Tang Jin's wild defiance stood in stark contrast to my gentle obedience. Even I found myself disgusted by my own appearance. But with a status so lowly, what other way did I have to protect myself, or to seek revenge? Xiao Yusin certainly didn't think he was in the wrong. On the contrary, he even felt a sense of injustice on my behalf. Even if I wasn't really his concubine, just someone he used for his act, when I was ridiculed and looked down on, he couldn't help but feel sorry. He held my hand tighter, his gaze sweeping the room. Tell me, if your wives spent every day out drinking with other men, what would you think? Finally, a decent point. But Wei Ling shot back immediately. Jin's isn't like other women. Xiao Yusin, you don't understand her at all. Now I saw it clearly, Wei Ling, son of the imperial censor, he had feelings for Tang Jin's. I would remember his name. Xiao Yusin's anger wasn't spent yet. As soon as we got in the carriage, he began ranting about Tang Jin's. Showing me, at last, that he no longer bothered to hide anything from me. I listened carefully, acting like the perfect, gentle confidant. You saw it just now, didn't you? She fools around with other men, but insists it's just friendship. What nonsense. If she truly cared about me, she wouldn't act this way. Does she ever think of her own husband? His hand clenched on his knee, veins bulging, as he struggled to control himself. I gently steered the conversation. Young master, perhaps, someone else invited her first. Xiao Yusin grew angrier. That Wei Ling, he knows she's married but still insists on seeing her. But even so, she shouldn't always say yes. Flies only land on cracked eggs. That last line burst out almost without thought. Good. He was finally starting to suspect her. The more he doubted, the closer their marriage was to breaking. I pretended I wanted to say more, as if sympathizing, but only managed to make things worse. Perhaps the consort has her own troubles. My words only fanned his anger higher. Back at the prince's residence, Xiao Yusin immediately sent people to drag Tang Jin's home, and the couple erupted into a shouting match. Tang Jin's demanded. You really want to take that wench as a concubine? But Xiao Yusin was no pushover. He said. You forced me to this. At last, Tang Jin couldn't stand it. She slapped Xiao Yusin hard across the face. All the servants bowed their heads, not daring to look. When those two started fighting, even the bystanders risked getting dragged in. Xiao Yusin stormed off, flinging his sleeve behind him, not looking back. Tang Jin, left with nowhere to vent her anger, ordered the servants to slap themselves across the face. I watched quietly from afar. One word from those above, and those below had to slap themselves bloody. It was tragic, but all too normal. From that moment, Xiao Yusen and Tang Jin's entered a full-blown Cold War. By late afternoon, Xiao Yusen was dead drunk and stumbled into my courtyard. His eyes were red at the corners, clearly tormented by Tang Jin's. He came closer, gaze fixed, then suddenly pulled me into his arms. He lifted my face, whispering with deep longing. "Jins, why can't you ever behave? Why can't you just be my wife? What have I done wrong?" I almost gagged. He'd mistaken me for Tang Jin's. But I could only endure it. A moment later, Xiao Yusen's expression shifted. "And then, is it you? No one but you could be so gentle." I steadied him and helped him into the room. "Young master, you've had too much to drink. You should rest." His gaze was clouded, and in the depths of his eyes a new layer of desire appeared. I glanced at the censer on the table. From the moment I saw Xiao Yusen enter my courtyard, I had already started burning incense. Since I was 10 years old, after my father and brother died in battle, I became an orphan. To survive until now had nothing to do with my tofu-making skills. After years of being around all kinds of merchants, I'd learned plenty of dirty tricks. A few days ago, when Xiao Yusen trusted me enough to let me go home for my things, I contacted an old acquaintance in the business and bought a little bit of enchanting incense. This incense muddles a man's mind, making him think he's lost in pleasure, but in truth, nothing really happens between him and the woman. Now, Xiao Yusen had collapsed onto the bed, tearing at his own clothes, his face full of delight. I stood at the foot of the bed, watching coldly as my expression grew even icier. When he sobered up, he was still clutching a pale pink undergarment in his hand. The chaos on the bed made it obvious what he thought had happened. As he left the room, he saw me packing my belongings. I made sure he caught me in the act. "Enan." Xiao Yusen called my name, his voice rough, as if there was something he wanted to say. I froze, but didn't turn around. He crossed the room in 2 strides and stopped beside me. I kept my eyes down, gently biting my lip, tears about to fall as I choked out. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Last night, I tried my best to push you away, but your strength was too much. I should never have gotten involved with you. I'll leave right now, I swear I won't cause you any more trouble." When he saw I was about to go, Xiao Yusen grabbed my shoulders, his heart in turmoil. "And then, you're mine now, how can I not take responsibility?" I looked up at him, tears clinging to my lashes, guilt all over my face. "But I only wanted to help you make up with Tang Jin's. How could I?" Before I could finish, he lowered his head, his lips brushing mine. By reflex, I turned away in disgust. But Xiao Yusen just thought I was shy. "And then, I'll take responsibility. Don't go." A man having 3 wives and 4 concubines is nothing out of the ordinary. If the consort can run wild, how can she blame me for looking elsewhere? Besides, now that our act is real, isn't it even more likely to make her furious? Once she comes to her senses, she'll behave herself in the back courtyard. Inside, I laughed coldly. Xiao Yusen and Tang Jin's, truly a perfect pair. One a scoundrel, the other shameless. I pretended to be bashful and nodded, as if agreeing. Xiao Yusen was overjoyed, and began asking about my family. I answered honestly. My father and brother died in battle at Ha-Te 5 years ago. I'm the only one left in my family. His expression changed at once. The battle at Ha-Te, 5 years ago, how could he not remember? He was the vanguard general then. But he'd valued his own life above all, fleeing alone and leaving the army behind. In the end, General Hatch managed to hold Ha-Te, but the soldiers who died there never returned. How absurd that when Xiao Yusen returned to the capital, he was rewarded with military honors. He was the son of Prince An, the current emperor was his royal uncle, the Empress Dowager his grandmother. No one in court dared charge him with any crime. I wanted Xiao Yusen to feel guilt. Beauty can only make a man's heart stir for a moment. But pity and remorse can make him give in, over and over. He hugged me, gently stroking my hair. And then, I'll treat you well. At last, Tang Jin's was truly losing control. Otherwise, with her status, she'd never come personally. I'd only been waiting for her to go mad with rage. Once a person loses control, they become unhinged. Tang Jin barked, "Hold that wench down." Two matrons seized my arms, pinning me in place. She was so angry that her gaze fell on the red marks at my neck, marks I'd left myself. She must have pictured me and Xiao Yusen tangled up together. "How dare you have a face like mine? Let me tell you, there's a chasm between nobles and commoners that you'll never cross. People like you deserve to rot in the filth." She hurled the same insults as in my past life. I only stared back, deliberately provoking her. Xiao Yusen knew Tang Jin's too well. He'd spread word of a grand banquet and sent rewards everywhere. With her temper, she couldn't possibly swallow that. So, of course, she came to cause trouble. As expected, Xiao Yusen was about to arrive. Tang Jin saw that I wasn't the least bit afraid and slapped me hard across the face. A burning sting. "Shameless! You're so desperate for a man, I'll send you to the brothel." I was shameless. What about her? Day after day, she entangled herself with married men. What did that make her? If they hadn't provoked me first, I'd never have ended up here. She raised her hand again. "Green tea like you, I've seen too many. All your tricks, I got tired of ages ago. You, a mere peasant, dare covet my man. Strip her and drag her to the brothel. This kind of woman isn't worth more than a penny." Her insults knew no limits. The two matrons tore at my clothes, just like in my last life. Still unsatisfied, Tang Jin lunged for my hair. Suddenly, a voice rang out. "Stop. What do you think you're doing?" Xiao Yusen had arrived. Tears welled up uncontrollably. My outer robe was already torn, exposing my undergarment and ambiguous marks. Xiao Yusen only thought they were his handiwork from the night before. My skin, white as snow, made his gaze linger. At the same time, anger flashed in his eyes. The woman he'd favored just last night, a beauty, no less, how could he let others humiliate her? He was nothing like the cold, indifferent man of my previous life. He kicked aside the two matrons and pulled me tightly into his arms. I buried myself in his embrace, and as he glared at Tang Jin, I deliberately smiled at her. She was already at her limit, provoked by me. She went completely mad, lunging to hit me again. My gentle, fragile appearance only made Tang Jin seem even more like a madwoman. The scene turned chaotic, her blows wild and uncontrolled. Xiao Yusen, helpless, had to fling out his sleeve and push Tang Jin away. As soon as he did, she froze, pointed at him, and screamed. "You pushed me. You actually pushed me. For a wretch like her, you pushed me. Have you forgotten everything you promised me before we married? You said I was your life, that you would always cherish me. Xiao Yusen, you betrayed me." No one wants to admit they're at fault. The moment people are blamed, their first reaction is to defend themselves, or prove they're right. Xiao Yusen, ever selfish, immediately stood his ground. "That's enough. If you hadn't forced me, why would I need to take a concubine? Tang Jin, I've treated you well enough. You're the one running around with other men. Have you ever once considered my feelings?" I lay in his arms, deliberately not adjusting my clothes. Soft skin pressed against his chest, so suggestive. Tang Jin had lost all reason. If I'd known, I'd never have married you. I must have been blind. Xiao Yusen retorted, "You think you're the only one with regrets." She shook with anger. "You, what do you mean?" "Xiao Yusen, I'm giving you one last chance. Sell that wretch right now and maybe I'll consider forgiving you." How absurd. I was a commoner, on what grounds could she sell me? Feigning fear, I trembled and clung to Xiao Yusen's clothes. "Young master, I'll leave on my own, just please stop arguing." But he only held me tighter. And then, you're mine. You're not going anywhere. I smiled at Tang Jin's, openly declaring victory. She screamed, spun on her heel, and stormed out, skirts swirling. She'd always been adored, never endured such humiliation. That's why she finally broke. Good. The old housekeeper followed her out. Xiao Yusin carefully examined me, worried for my safety, barely sparing Tang Jin's another thought. After all, I was the new favorite now. I fixed my robe. Xiao Yusin's tone was gentle as he comforted me. Don't be afraid. I'm here. Once we complete the concubine ceremony, even if she's the primary wife, she won't be able to touch you. Really? I didn't believe it. If he could be heartless with the one he loved, sooner or later he'd be heartless with me too. In my previous life, Xiao Yusin wasn't innocent either. He and Tang Jin's were two of a kind. Half a month later, the Prince N's household held a grand concubine ceremony for me. The Prince N's wife had long since become devout and indifferent to the harem's affairs. Xiao Yusin was their only son, so everyone supported him taking a concubine. Tang Jin's had been married to him for nearly 2 years and was still childless. Low-born as I was, the Prince N still hoped I'd soon bear a child. Even the Tang family, her powerful minister father's house, couldn't interfere. Their daughter, after all, had failed to produce an heir. The ceremony went smoothly. That night, Xiao Yusin came to my room, where I'd already lit incense. So when Tang Jin's, unable to bear it, sent word that she was unwell, Xiao Yusin was already completely lost in a dream. Tang Jin's was stubborn and proud. Knowing Xiao Yusin spent the night with me, she sent no further messages. That night, I increased the dose of incense, and Xiao Yusin didn't settle until the middle of the night. Word spread, an endless night of passion. The next morning, at the tea-offering ceremony, dark circles showed beneath Tang Jin's eyes, makeup unable to cover them. Once, favored as she was, she did whatever she pleased. Now, realizing Xiao Yusin didn't need her, she was bound to fall apart. All I had to do was keep pushing her, step by step, into the abyss. The cup the housekeeper handed me was steaming hot. As I lifted it, my hands almost shook. This was Tang Jin's trying to assert dominance. But I wouldn't let her succeed. As she reached out to take the scalding cup, ready to blame me, I deliberately knocked it over myself. Hot tea splashed across the back of my hand, skin instantly flushing red. I cried out in pain, tears brimming. Tang Jin's was stunned. Immediately, Xiao Yusin rushed to shield me, cradling me as he checked my burn. And then, "Are you all right?" I pressed my lips together, shaking my head, refusing to utter a word of complaint. But the sight of my misery was answer enough. Xiao Yusin shot Tang Jin's a look. He understood, but couldn't challenge the primary wife outright. Instead, he killed the chicken to scare the monkey, ordering the housekeeper who served the tea to be flogged with 20 strokes. That housekeeper, a dowry maid who had come with me, wouldn't survive such a beating. Tang Jin's was deeply unsettled, wanting to plead, but too proud to lower herself. Besides, had she ever bowed her head to Xiao Yusin before? A single whimper from me, and Xiao Yusin's attention snapped back. The housekeeper was dragged off for punishment, and Xiao Yusin swept me up in his arms and carried me out. I looked back, meeting Tang Jin's resentful, unyielding gaze, and taunted her again. She could only glare, too furious for words. After her maid was beaten, Tang Jin's kept her distance for days, no longer coming to trouble me. Xiao Yusin's chicken and monkey tactic had worked. I seized the chance to leave the residence to meet someone. Sure enough, my guess was right. Wei Ling's wife, Madame Chu, had long since hated Tang Jin's. So, using my status as Xiao Yusin's concubine, I sent her an invitation, and Madame Chu agreed to see me. I seized the moment and spoke openly. The finance minister Tang was involved in the missing grain rations at the border 5 years ago. No doubt, the Tang family embezzled funds. My father and brother both died in the battle at Ha Te 5 years ago. When their bodies were returned, they were frozen stiff, covered only in rags, all skin and bones, not a wound on them. they'd died of hunger and cold, bit by bit. Before, someone like me, a commoner, could never reach the heights of the powerful, let alone investigate the truth myself. But Madame Chu was different. She had both the standing and the resources to uncover. Tang Jin's always held herself above others, treating your husband ambiguously, never taking you seriously. Madame Chu paused. Her eyes were calm and clear, not a hint of agitation even when speaking of a love rival. Truly the bearing of a noble family daughter. After a moment, she smiled. I won't lie, even in his dreams my husband calls Tang Jin's name. But if the Tang family really is guilty of corruption, as the daughter of a senior official, I must report it to my father. That was as good as agreement. I could barely hide my joy. When I returned to the prince's residence, Xiao Yusen had just come back as well. The moment he saw me, he asked. And then, did you go out? I smiled sweetly and took out the camellia hibiscus pastries I'd prepared in advance. It's been hot lately, and you didn't eat much breakfast this morning. I especially went out and lined up to buy these for you, to whet your appetite. His face softened at once, and he reached out, drawing me into his arms. He thought that after so many nights together, we were truly close. His touch was utterly natural. He had no idea that every time he came near, all I felt was the urge to throw up. Xiao Yusen was obsessed with my body, but to me he was nothing more than a stray dog. Thank goodness for the incense, I never had to deal with him directly. Afterwards, Xiao Yusen became even more infatuated. I gently suggested. Young master, you should visit the consort tonight. You two have been fighting for a month already, it can't go on like this. He thought I was just being considerate. He frowned, pity someone still refuses to soften. I spoke gently. She's the minister's daughter, used to being spoiled. It's no surprise she's a little proud. Why don't you try yielding first, just this once? He was persuaded. After all, Tang Jin's was still in his heart, how could he let go so easily? He gripped my chin, and then, aren't you jealous? I pouted. Young master, I've said it before. I only need you to be kind to me. If you're happy, then I can be at peace. He sighed, if only she were like you, I'd be so much happier. Still longing for Tang Jin's, pretending to be the wounded lover. How quickly he'd moved on, marrying me as a concubine after barely knowing me, truly a master at self-justification. That night, Xiao Yusen should have gone to visit Tang Jin's. But the prince summoned him away. Because the Tang family had just been impeached. This was serious. It involved the grain embezzlement at the border 5 years ago. Back then, Xiao Yusen was the vanguard general. The battle casualties hadn't even been reported to the court, and the soldiers' families never received compensation. If the Tang family was found guilty, Xiao Yusen would surely be implicated as well. It had to be said, Madame Chu acted with shocking speed. She'd already struck against the Tang family. I quietly waited in the residence as news came from all directions. After just 2 days, Tang Jin's couldn't sit still any longer. She came to Xiao Yusen herself, lowering her voice for the first time. I made some pastries and brought them to the study. Standing in the hallway, I overheard their conversation. Tang Jin's was still somewhat forceful. My father is your father-in-law. Are you just going to stand by and do nothing? I'm begging you, won't you help? Was that what she called begging? The arrogance of someone spoiled from birth. Xiao Yusen was clearly impatient. This implicates too many people. I can't get involved. Besides, the emperor hasn't decided yet. Silence filled the study. There was nothing left to say. Tang Jin dared not lose her temper. Instead, she awkwardly hugged Xiao Yusen from behind. You weren't like this before. Can't we go back to how we were? I won't see other men anymore, or drink with them. And you, please stop seeing that fox spirit. Can't we do that? Xiao Yusen said nothing, but didn't push her away either. He enjoyed the moment, but didn't want to keep spoiling her. Back when she was on top, Tang Jin's easily captivated him. But now that she'd fallen, could he still love her as before? Once she'd lost the backing of her family, what did she have left to fight me with? Some faded romance, nothing more. I didn't enter, just left the pastries with a servant and turned away. How ironic, by evening, Xiao Yusin came looking for me. And then, did you bring pastries at noon? Why didn't you say anything before leaving? He asked quietly. I smiled sweetly. I was happy to see you and the consort getting along. I wouldn't dare disturb you. He pulled me into his arms, sighing in contentment. And then, having you is such a blessing. He wanted to stay the night, but I pushed him gently back toward Tang Jin's. I wanted Xiao Yusin to realize for himself. The woman in his heart wasn't incapable of gentleness. She simply never bothered to be gentle with him. Now, because of her family, Tang Jin's had no more pride left. She, who'd always scorned me as low-born, only fit to die in a brothel. But from the very beginning, I had never provoked these two mad people. I was an ant at the bottom of society. That was my original sin, not any supposed lack of virtue. For now, Xiao Yusin and Tang Jin's found a fragile peace with each other. But the next morning, Xiao Yusin sent people to deliver fine cloth and jewelry to me. In his eyes, my affection was sincere and pure, without any hidden motives. While Tang Jin's sudden affection the night before, he saw only as a response to desperation. A few days later, Minister Tang's crimes of embezzlement were confirmed, the evidence irrefutable, and the entire Tang residence was sealed and searched. Tang Jin's, already married out, narrowly escaped disaster. In a single night, she fell from an untouchable noble daughter to the child of a convicted criminal. She had always claimed the gap between the nobility and the commoners was an unbridgeable abyss. Sooner or later, she would have to understand, no one can stand at the top forever. Tang Jin's, ever skilled at survival, quickly became docile, hiding her sharpness, and tried every means to please Xiao Yusin. That day, Madame Chu reached out, inviting me to a secret meeting at the tea house. She looked fuller and her complexion glowed with wealth. I saw her gently stroke her lower belly and didn't touch the tea, so I smiled and congratulated her. Congratulations, madam. You're expecting. Madame Chu's mood was bright. You really are sharp. But I still have one matter troubling me. I followed her lead. You must need something from me, then. Please, just say it. She didn't hide her intent. Wei Ling nearly dragged our whole clan down trying to plead for the Tang family. Keeping a husband like that is an eyesore. Now that I have a child, boy or girl, I don't need him anymore. I want to keep the child and cast off the father. I was stunned for a moment, but quickly understood. Her maternal grandfather was a senior statesman through 3 reigns, her family was unimaginably powerful. Wei Ling's endless favoritism toward Tang Jin's had long since exhausted her patience. Then Madame Chu's tone shifted. Tang Jin's is no innocent, either. She flirts everywhere, treats others like fools, and tries to sabotage other marriages on purpose. I want everyone to see her true face. We shared a smile and quietly plotted our next move. All that was left was to wait for Tang Jin's to walk into the trap herself. Back at the prince's residence, my makeup grew bolder and my clothing more daring. Xiao Yusin was as infatuated as ever. The incense I used made the pleasure far more intense than any ordinary night, leaving him addicted and unable to part from me. For a whole month, he spent nearly 20 nights in my quarters. Tang Jin's would occasionally wander through the rear gardens, by chance running into Xiao Yusin. She had now become exactly the kind of woman she used to look down on the most. But even when they met, Xiao Yusin only shared a meal or a few casual words before leaving. What I wanted was for Tang Jin's to spiral into utter insecurity. At the same time, Madame Chu used her influence to bribe the renowned doctor who treated Tang Jin's. It was true, Tang Jin's had grown desperate, trying to use a child to secure her position. She realized Xiao Yusin was more and more enthralled by me, she'd lost the support of her family, and beyond her title, she had nothing left to leverage. The doctor told her. There's nothing wrong with your health. As for why you haven't conceived, it's likely a matter of incompatibility with the young master's essence. Tang Jin's immediately understood. There were always rumors about this sort of thing, a woman unable to have children with her husband, but after divorce, remarries and conceives right away. If both man and woman are healthy, then infertility means incompatibility. In other words, if she wanted a child, her only option was another man. I seized a chance to let Tang Jin catch me faking nausea. Within days, she hurried out. Madame Chu sent word to Xiao Yusen, inviting him to catch the adulterers, and also called the wives of all the close brothers who had always hung around Tang Jin. When Xiao Yusen arrived, he found Wei Ling and Tang Jin, both breathless and flushed. Wei Ling, having finally gotten what he wanted, looked as if he wished he could swallow Tang Jin's whole. Tang Jin, neglected for so long, was intoxicated by the taste of being adored again. Everyone standing outside the door could hear the panting inside. Especially Tang Jin's delighted laughter, even her voice trembled. Ling, if only I'd married you all those years ago. Xiao Yusen's face turned dark as thunder. Drawing his sword, he kicked the door open. The other noble wives, long since disgusted with Tang Jin, were delighted by the spectacle. Madame Chu, wanting complete control of her household, was eager to see Wei Ling ousted from the family. So, the whole scene erupted into chaos. Xiao Yusen roared, "Wretched woman!" Tang Jin shrieked in terror. Madame Chu fanned the flames. "Young master, you've seen it yourself, my husband and your wife, together like this. I'd say they haven't been clean for a long time." Another wife spoke up. "My husband once received a jade pendant from Tang Jin, and even called her name in his sleep. And, as if on cue, my own son wears a jade pendant she gave him, won't take it off for a day." So it seems, Tang Jin handed out love tokens to more than a few men. All that brotherhood talk, who knows what their real relationship was. Xiao Yusen staggered, pulled out the jade pendant at his waist, and smashed it right there. "Tang Jin, so to you, I'm no different from any of them. So cheap, so disposable, you can have it back." Tang Jin, disheveled, finally broke down completely. Wei Ling was deeply embarrassed. He didn't love Madame Chu, but he couldn't afford to offend her powerful family. Tang Jin saw Xiao Yusen raise his sword toward her and broke down sobbing, trying to justify herself. "I only wanted to give you a child. What did I do wrong? Didn't you take a concubine too?" Xiao Yusen was shaking with rage. "You wanted to help me have a child, so you went to another man." His sword struck Tang Jin's. Blood poured everywhere, but she survived. That night, Tang Jin was locked in the woodshed, her wounds still seeping blood. I should have let her taste a little of the pain I once endured in my past life. But in the end, I wasn't her. The moment she saw my face, she hurled curses at me, filthy words, uglier than anything I'd ever heard. I only smiled lightly and said, "Do you know why you lost? Because you're too selfish and arrogant. All of this, you brought on yourself. If you hadn't left any weaknesses, I never would have been able to bring you down. You lost so completely because both you and your family were covered in stains." The next morning, I woke to the news, Tang Jin was dead. She'd hanged herself with a white silk sash. Xiao Yusen could never have let her go on living. Her existence had become a humiliation he could not forgive. And with Tang Jin dead, her lover could not simply sit still either. Madame Chu let Wei Ling do as he pleased, until one night he crept into the prince's residence, intent on assassinating Xiao Yusen. I wanted Xiao Yusen dead, Madame Chu wanted Wei Ling to perish. Letting the two of them destroy each other was the best possible outcome. Wei Ling drove his sword through Xiao Yusen. I saw it with my own eyes. When I saw that Xiao Yusen was beyond saving, I feigned panic and called for the guards. The guards rushed in, found the young master assassinated, and of course showed Wei Ling no mercy. Wei Ling died under a storm of arrows. I rushed over, cradled Xiao Yusen's head in my lap. His eyes were full of emotion as he tried to reach for my face, whispering, "Anan, you are the love of my life." Oh, how touching, almost enough to make me weep for real. He closed his eyes. I pretended to be overcome with grief. "Young master, don't worry, I'll raise the child in my belly to be a worthy person," Everyone thought, from Xiao Yusan's dying words, that I was resolved to raise his child as his legacy. That day, both of Tang Jin's men died. Because of one whirlwind of passion, the capital lost two of its prominent sons. Tang Jin's name became a byword for disgrace. All the insults she'd once hurled at me, now, everything returned to her, like water flowing back to its source. Her corpse was carelessly wrapped in a straw mat by the prince's servants and tossed into a pauper's grave, left for the wild dogs. And as for me, I really was pregnant. All because the prince and heir once saw me and remembered that I looked a little like his consort. With Madame Chu's help, I found a clean young man for the task. That man never knew my true identity, he was blindfolded the whole time. I loathed these nobles, who treated human lives like grass and sat above the world. But without people like me, the commoners, who would build the high platforms for them to enjoy. The prince's household placed great value on the child in my belly. Half a year later, the fruit ripened, a healthy baby boy, looking just like me. When my son turned 1, the prince secured him a noble title as heir. I raised him myself, teaching him courtesy, honor, and the ways of the world, training him in both the literary and martial arts. All I wished for was that one day, he might save the people and the nation, instead of becoming another parasite of the privileged. After living 2 lives, I understood one truth. Only those who stand at the top, with power in hand, can change the world. I was only an orphan, barely literate. All I could do was use the prince's household as a springboard, a tool to raise my son to become a pillar of the country. Perhaps this was the true meaning of reincarnation, for myself, to take revenge, but also to try changing something. At the very least, I had to try. 1 life, 2 lives, 3 lives. Someday, the world will change. The end.